You know, after finishing my series analyzing literally every single episode of Steins Gate, I've been thinking about what I can take away from it, and there is one conclusion that just keeps staring me in the face. Mayuri should have died in Steins Gate 0, not Kurisu. Have you ever thought about who the most important character in Steins Gate is? It's not Kurisu, it's not Okabe, it's not Ferris, disappointed lol, no. It's Mayuri. Mayuri is the most important character in the story because she represents the beauty of the everyday. Why do you think the first half focuses so much on the characters' everyday lives, hanging out and eating beef bowls and playing board games? It isn't just to develop the characters and their relationships, it's because that is the most important thing in Steins Gate. That is the price Okabe pays for his time machine. Sure, it's got all this crazy shit about time travel and infinity and the universe, but that's only there to lift the story up higher so it can bring it crashing down to earth just a little bit harder. And while all the other characters keep getting caught up in this, Mayuri never does because it's her job to keep the story grounded, to remind them of what's really important in life.
マユリはずっと前からやめるべきだと思っていたのかもしれない。
実験に夢中だった私や岡部よりもあの子の方がいろいろ見えていたのかもね。
It's not the existential, philosophical time travel stuff that's important. It's the familiar, ordinary, boring, everyday that is the most beautiful thing in the world. And the character that understands this more than anyone, the person who most embodies the beauty of the mundane, is Mayuri.
そのマユシーが1週間前に飛んで1週間をやり直したとするでしょ。マユシーはお話ししたことを覚えてるのにオカリンは全然知らないってことになるの？だとしたらね、なんだか寂しいね。
俺が？
マユシーが。
Here, Okabe is the one that understands what's going on, but Mayuri is the one that understands how to feel. Mayuri is the one that understands what's important. Mayuri is the one that understands the humanity of it. When they get Suzaha's letter and Okabe prevents himself from stopping her from going to the past, it's Mayuri that understands that this means undoing the most important event in the story, the lab party.
オカリン D メールを送るの？そんなことしたら全部消えちゃうんだよ。すずさんとの思い出も全部なかったことになっちゃうんだよ。
分かっている。
Mayuri never understands any of the big brain stuff going on, but she does understand 100% of the simple things, and it's her job to stop and remind them of the simple truths of the world.
星なんて見えないだろう。
あのね、お昼でもお星様はそこにあるんだよ。
That is why this, to me, is the very most important line in the story, 30 seconds into the first episode.
オカリン。
Okabe stands there, tottering over the brink of sanity, caught up in his own delusions about time and space and God, and Mayuri calls his name and brings him back to reality. Because this one moment, this one line of her calling out to him, is the embodiment of both their relationship and Steins Gate as a whole. When Mayuri tells Okabe that she's crossed thousands of world lines searching for him, it's because while he's trying to protect her, he's the one that's lost, and it's her job to save him.
マユシーはね、オカリンを追いかけてたくさんの世界線のオカリンを探し続けてきたのです。
Okabe, time and time again, reaches out into the universe, and it's his relationship with Mayuri that grounds him in reality. And their relationship is captured perfectly in this little exchange before Mayuri dies in the subway, when she asks Okabe to tell her everything when this is all over.
マユシーは聞きたいことがいっぱいあるけど、今は我慢しとくね。その代わり、終わったら全部聞かせてほしいのです。
She asks this because she realizes that there's something wrong with him, even if she doesn't know what. But what she does understand is Okabe, and that there's something he can't tell her, no matter how much he cares about her. But what's so important isn't just this one line, it's that it happens twice. The second time by Okabe when he finds her alone by her grandmother's grave.
話せる時が来たら全てを話す。
And she doesn't say it the second time because she's thinking it but doesn't want to be a burden on him, her best friend, and asking it would only put more pressure on him. But Okabe says it because he understands her. When Mayuri says it, she says that someday they should have that party. And when Okabe says it, he asks her if she wants to buy another upa before they turn to leave. Each of them knows exactly what the other is thinking because they perfectly understand each other, and it's their relationship that holds the world of Steins Gate together. So, my biggest problem with Steins Gate 0 is that there is no world line where Mayuri does not slap Okabe. Mayuri slaps him because she knows him. She knows exactly who he is, and she understands more than anyone the true identity of Ho and Kyoma, even when he himself has forgotten. And she knows that he is not someone who would just give up.
オカリンは途中で諦める人じゃないよ。マユシーは知ってるもん。
This is why Mayuri is the one that Okabe saves. Sure, he's in love with Kurisu, but his relationship with Mayuri is something even more special. She is the one that holds him down to earth. She is his sense of right and wrong, of all that is good and true in the world. She is his North Star. Mayuri is the soul of Ho and Kyoma. There is no world line where this slap does not happen and Mayuri just lets him give up. He would never give up so long as she is there to support him, and she would never let him give up so long as he is still breathing. No, there is only one way Ho and Kyoma would ever give up. Not if this slap had never happened, but rather if this one had not.
もうそんなもので心が壊れたりしない。何度繰り返そうが同じ。
Well, sort of. That line mostly just sounded kind of cool in my head. Realistically, this would have almost exactly the same problem. But what I mean is there is no world where he would have given up, but there is one where he loses his soul. Here, Kurisu sees what is happening to him, to his mind, teetering on the brink of sanity, and snaps him back to reality. But he was so very close to the edge, and in a world line where he had gone just a tiny bit further, he might not have come back from it. I mean, this is literally what happens in the Suzuha ending. He refuses to give up and resolves to spend eternity trapped in the same 48 hours so that none of his friends has to die, and eventually turns insane and almost breaks until Suzuha snaps him out of it and takes him back to the past with her to 1976. I recently played Linear Bounded Phonogram, and wait, stop, I'm gonna spoil the ending, so if you plan to play it in the near future, jump to this timestamp. You have 3 seconds, go, and... Okay, are we clear? Good, because I lied to you. I'm not spoiling the end of it, I'm spoiling the beginning of it. Okabe becomes this superhero going around and fighting capitalism with facts and logic in a silly Alpaca-Man costume Mayuri made for him, turning himself into the masked hero of Akihabara. He may be a weak and mortal man, but with the power of the phone wave, name subject to change, anything is possible. Anything, that is, except looking himself in the mirror and facing reality. Because Mayuri did not make this costume for him. He did. A husk of his former self, his mind clouded by the delusions and untruths of a broken soul, he taught himself to sew and told himself that the ever-present Mayuri, his dearest friend who he'd been taking for granted, had never left his side, unable to face the truth that she is no longer in this world. Letting her die time and time again severed his connection with reality, causing her to slip out of his grasp and causing him to lose his infinite battle with the universe. So he made this costume himself, and Mayuri, long gone, is a mere figment of his imagination because his broken mind cannot deal with the reality that she is gone. Ho and Kyoma would never give up. No, but maybe, just maybe, he will lose a part of his soul, the part that tells him wrong from right. Not just his moral compass, but what is right and wrong with the universe. Mayuri is the soul of the lab, and the soul of the insane mad scientist Ho and Kyoma. Without Mayuri, there is no lab. There is no Ho and Kyoma. Kyoma was born to keep Mayuri hostage, and should she no longer be his hostage, what reason does the insane mad scientist have to keep existing?
マイリが消えてしまうような。
オカリン、そっか。マユシーはオカリンの人質なんだね。
This deserves its own video because I'm gonna have to oversimplify this a little bit here, so subscribe if you want to see that. But have you ever wondered why Kurisu is the mother of the time machine? Why the hell would she work for CERN? Why would she betray not just the lab and her friends, but the man she loves? Well, the answer is simple when you think about the events that led up to the completion of the time machine. In the Zero timeline, Kurisu is dead, and her paper on time travel falls into the hands of Dr. Nagabachi. But what about the timeline where she lives and joins CERN? That's right, this is the timeline where Mayuri dies. Kurisu's doing exactly the same thing Okabe did, fighting against time. She loves Okabe, but she cannot be with the empty husk that is the soulless and broken shell of Ho and Kyuma. She works for CERN to build a time machine because that is the only way she can hope to save Mayuri. Because there is no future gadget laboratory without Mayuri. There is no Ho in Kyoma without Mayuri. There is no Steins Gate without Mayuri. Okabe knows this, and so too does Kurisu. She is okay with the world falling to pieces around her as she becomes the mother of the time machine because a world without Mayuri is not a world worth saving. So when I say the writers of Steins Gate Zero didn't understand Steins Gate, here's why. If you really understood Steins Gate, you would not have written a story where Kurisu is dead. No, you would have written a story where Mayuri is dead. Because that is the darkest timeline. That is the only one where he is truly lost. Kurisu is not the most important character in the story. She's the best character, yes. She's my waifu, yes. I have a large collection of Kurisu doujins, yes. All of those things are absolutely true. But she is not the most important character, because the most important character is Mayuri. So I had to condense my whole 24 episode analysis into like 10 minutes for this. If you aren't convinced, I guess the only option is to go watch my entire series and come back. I'll put a link at the end screen. If you are, well, you might have noticed I mentioned that I played Linear Bound Infinigram. And well, I may or may not have decided to make a video on literally every single Steins Gate spinoff and side story. So look forward to a video on that next. As always, thank you so much for your time, friends, and I will see you in the next video.